two realms of social and political based on the philosophical reflection of Hannah Arendt. Professor Hannah Arendt was a notable political philosopher, author, noveler, first survivor. She is the most influential political theorist of 20th century. She is best known for his dealing with the nature of power and rebel, as well as politics, direct democracy, authority, and totalitarianism. Anyway, today, Professor Panneerselvam is with us. He has accepted our invitation to talk on this theme. This is a new topic for all of us. And Professor Panneerselvam is an eminent professor of philosophy of her country. She is well known to all the academicians of philosophy fraternity. Professor Panneerselvam needs no introduction. He is the former professor and head Department of Philosophy, Madras University, Chennai. Professor Panneerselvam has done a lot for the cause of philosophy, philosophy reflection, philosophical popularity, and she is the General Secretary of Indian Philosophical Congress. He has done a lot for IPC. He is associated with ICPA. He has a teaching experience of more than 3 decades in different universities. He has a lot of contribution. He has contributed a lot of philosophical articles to different national and international journals. His areas of specialization may include Advaita, non-Western philosophy, both traditional and contemporary and continental philosophy, postmodernism, philosophy of language, cross-cultural hermeneutics, and Professor Panneerselvam is a notable teacher, orator, writer, editor, and organizer of different philosophical themes, and he has also organized different national and international seminars, webinars. He has been invited as speaker to different countries as visiting professor, and it is not possible to speak much of him during a short span of time. And today he is with us. He is an eminent professor of philosophy, orator. He is like a teacher. I extend my regard to him to be associated with us, to accept our invitation in this forum. On this occasion, I extend my warm greetings to all the senior professors of our country to be associated with us, to be with us in this Sunday webinar. I welcome our Armenian Professor Pramod Kumar Das. I welcome Professor Dr. K. Omanan Rao, the regular moderator of Philosophy Family. And with this, I extend a warm welcome to all the viewers of this evening. With this, I request Professor Panneerselvam sir to commence his talk. Over to Professor Panneerselvam sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar to all. Thank you, Professor Maharana ji, for your kind words. Most respected Professor Pramod Das ji, my good friend Professor Narayan Rao ji, and I could see the names of great scholars. Poonam ji is here, and then Jayanti Sahu, Anurima Bhattacharya, and many other scholars, Mishra, Dr. Mishra, and many others are here. It gives me a lot of encouragement to speak on this occasion. And my good friend, Professor Ranjit ji, also joined. In fact, I was searching him because he's the one who encourages me always. And I was wondering why he was not here. And I am happy that Sir is also here. So today we shall discuss a very important thinker, Professor Anna Arendt, whose contribution to continental philosophy is something remarkable. Before discussing our political theory, especially, I would like to discuss our distinction or the realm of social and political, which is playing a very important role in all our writings. Because I know that I cannot discuss everything of Anna Arendt within this 45 minutes or maximum 1 hour, but I'll throw some light on some of her contributions. So this is only an introductory lecture. So especially youngsters, young teachers and scholars who are interested in her can go through some of her books so that they can understand the significance of Anna Arendt. Now let us ask this question. Who is Anna Arendt? Is she a philosopher, a political theorist, or a critic? Remember, in the beginning I said a thinker. I did not use the word philosopher because she is not happy with the term philosopher. But she is one of the important, perhaps we can say one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. Because her views on political philosophy or political theory has made a tremendous impact on humanities as well as social sciences. And she has dealt with concepts like freedom and responsibility, violence and revolution, war and totalitarianism, social alienation, participatory politics, the meaning of human existence, and the realm of social and political. These are some of our concepts, and all these concepts are connected to our political writings. Let us see our background or our philosophical, I don't know whether to call it philosophical, our biography or intellectuals, let us say intellectual biography. She was born on 14th October 1906 in Hanover, in Germany. And in the year 1924, she joined the University of Marburg as a student, where she studied philosophy and theology. She studied theology under the guidance of Bultmann, a well-known theologian, and she studied Heidegger, especially Heidegger's philosophical impact. But she was very much drawn to Heidegger passionately, I would say, till the year 1924. And she got inspiration from Husserl also, and later she was very much influenced by Karl Jaspers. In fact, Heidegger says that he was very much influenced by Hannah while writing the well-known book Being and Time. So she spent one semester at the University of Freiburg, and she studied under the guidance of Husserl also. Then in the year 1928, she submitted her PhD thesis under the guidance of Karl Jaspers, and she worked on the very interesting title, St. Augustine's Concept of Love. And in the year 1933, Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany, and all of us know that he was against the Jews. So she had to face a lot of problems, and she has been arrested also. That is in the year 1953. So she flees Germany and became a stateless person. This term is very important, stateless person, because she talks about that stateless person, the situation of the stateless person in her political writings. And during the mid 1930s, she works in Paris for many agricultural organizations, and she helped many Jewish refugees to go to Palestine. And also, in the year 1941, she enters US, and then later became, she got US citizenship. And in the year 1955, she became the visiting professor of University of California. And during 1963 to 67, she was a professor at Chicago University, and she died in the year 1975. That is on December 4th, 1975. This is a brief intellectual biography of Hannah. Now, where do we locate or where do we place Hannah and her writings? Let me quote what she has said when one German TV interviewed her in the year 1964. She talks about her intellectual orientation. I quote her, "I do not belong to the circle of philosophers. My profession, if I can ever speak of it at all, is political theory." Unquote. Further, she says, "I neither feel like a philosopher, nor do I believe that I have been accepted to the circle of philosophers." Unquote. These two short quotations very clearly tell us that she's the one who avoids the label philosopher that is ascribed to her. And not only that, she says that there is always a vital tension between philosophy and politics. So, what is, or where do we locate her? Somebody asked this question: who are you, or what are you? Are you a conservative? Are you a liberal? Which is your position in the contemporary philosophy or contemporary discourse? For which she answered like this: "I don't know. I really don't know. And I have never known. And I suppose I never had any such position. The left think I am a conservative, and the conservatives sometimes think that I am a left. I don't belong to any group, so I cannot really answer this question." Further, she says, "I have always done what I like to do. I say what I think." So it is very difficult to locate her or place her in any philosophical school of thought in the contemporary period. But we have to admit the fact that she herself, sometimes she described herself as a sort of phenomenologist. This is very important. In fact, one of her critique, or the commentator, I would say, is Shaila Ben Habib. She says that there is a major philosophical as well as political tension that one can find in the writings of Anna. So we have to admit the fact that the tension that exists between philosophy and politics is exhibited in all her writings. And it would be better to call her a political thinker rather than a philosopher, though the elements of phenomenology as well as existentialism is very much present in her writings. We have to admit the fact that she was in search of something. What is that? She was in search for the lost Greek polis. We know that the word polis in Greek means the city-state. So in some of her writing, she wants to establish or rebuild this Greek polis. And in the 20th century, as I said in the beginning, she is one of the very influential thinker of the 20th century. So her concepts can be discussed under various heads. For example, she has written extensively on modernity. She has talked about action. She talked about judgment. And also she has talked about citizenship. In all these concepts, one can see how she reflects herself as a great political thinker who has a concern for the human society. And her political thought is always connected to the citizenship. She is the one who wants to develop the concept of a democratic citizenship. And in all her writings, she has exhibited that. So it would be appropriate if I quote some of her important works. For example, her important works are as follows. The Origins of Totalitarianism. This is a very important book. And secondly, Human Condition. This is also a very significant work. Then Between Past and Future, another work. Then On Revolution. Then Men in Dark Times. Then Crisis of the Republic. Then The Life of the Mind. And the lectures on political philosophy of Kant. These are some of our important works, but we have to admit the fact that in all her writing, she could express the political events of our century. In fact, she says that two great horrors or twin horrors that has shaped the 20th century world. What is that? The first one she says is Nazism, and second is Stalinism. These are the two horrors, she says, of the 20th century. So in all her writings, she could focus on these two horrors or the dangers that prevail in the 20th century. So her concern is something which has connected to save the humanity, how the future of humanity can be saved. So keeping at the backdrop to these two horrors, namely Nazism and Stalinism, she could express how human society can be saved for the future. There are many critics as well as commentators. One is, as I mentioned, um, uh, Shaila Ben Habib. Then another thinker whom I would like to refer is Bhikkhu Parekh. He has one interesting book which all young scholars should read. That is Anna Arendt and the Search for the New Political Philosophy. This work gives a comprehensive picture of Anna Arendt, the political development, I would say. Then another thinker who has elaborately discussed Anna Arendt is Habermas. And Habermas, in some places, accepts her views with regard to modernity and all that one. But at the same time, he has criticized Anna Arendt for transcending some of the important values of the humanities. So it is very much essential for us to consider her as a political theorist, because it is very difficult, of course, as I said, it is very difficult for us to place her whether she belongs to the category of conservatism or liberalism or socialism, because she has got her political approach is something entirely different. She did not conceive politics as a means for the satisfaction of the individual preference, or in search of one single transcendental concept of good, because that is normally we expect from politics, that is we are in search of a transcendental concept of good. But her approach is entirely different. I would say by rejecting this, she wants to develop the active citizenship that is on the value and importance of civic engagement with the collective deliberations affecting the political community. So I would like to once again emphasize this point, that she did not conceive politics as a means for satisfaction of individual preferences in order to reach a transcendental concept of good, which quite often we expect from politics or the politician or political theories. On the other hand, she was more concerned about how the individual can participate in politics. So she was more concerned about the active citizenship of the individual, so that individual can participate in collective deliberations, because this collective deliberation alone can affect the political community, and a change can be possible provided there is a collective deliberation. So her approach towards politics is something very remarkable, I would say. Then our critique of modernity has to be considered seriously, because now we have moved from modernity to postmodernism, modernism to postmodernism, and we have been saying that how modernity or modernism has created some good effects, no doubt. It allowed us to understand the significance of modernity. So the plus points of modernity one cannot neglect. But Anna is one who, to large extent, is the one who rejected the modernity. So our critique of modernity is something which is very important at this juncture when we are talking about our distinction between social and political. We have to see how she has approached modernity. So her critique of modernity uh, is from the social and political life. So she says modernity, in fact, she talks about the ill effects of modernity, right? So she says that modernity has the character of losing the world, or the loss of the world is one of the characteristic features of modernity. So this means, according to her, in modernity, there is the elimination of public sphere of action and speech in favor of a private world. I hope you understand this distinction. That is, she talks about, while talking about modernity, she says that in modernity there is a loss of the world. This means she is arguing in favor of a public sphere of action, and most of the time we celebrate the private world in the place of the public sphere of action. So what happens is, if we celebrate the private world, then there is the loss of the world. The true meaning of world is lost. And not only that, modernity is nothing but the world of mass society. It is where, that is in modernity, there is the rise of the social. So it is in modernity, or it is in the social, for her society as well as social mean the same. So she says modernity as the age of mass society talks about the rise of the social. So in this age, that is in modern age, where the totalitarian form of government has been playing a very important role. So the totalitarian form of government, she says, are mainly Nazism as well as Stalinism. They have emerged, both Stalinism as well as Nazism have emerged as a result of institutionalization of terror and violence. That is the reason why she said that the 20th century has contributed these two great dangerous events. One is Nazism and Stalinism. So because of this totalitarian form of government, the humanity, the values of the humanity is lost. So the solidarity is lost. Solidarity, she says, is eroded, and the plurality and the freedom is also lost. So these are some of the defects of totalitarian form of government, which has emerged in modernity. That is the reason why she criticizes the modernity. And also she says, in modernity, the past no longer carries any weightage. So the contribution made by the past is completely rejected. The values of the past are eroded, and the individuals and their contributions and the preservation of the traditional values, all these are lost, because here we are committed to the totalitarian form of government. Of course, modernity has given some what shall I say, some good effects also. Modernity is responsible for giving us a positive side also. For example, reason is one of the important contributions of modernity, and the industrial revolution is another important contribution of modernity. Of course, when you say rationality, the postmodernists would say that though modernity has given this rationality, reason turned to its opposite. That is postmodernist criticism of modernity and the rationality of modern period. So there is a need for Hannah to reject modernity, and she says her approach, no doubt, is a negative one, and it was due to the totalitarian society, or the totalitarian form of government which was prevalent in the 20th century. And especially one can see this in our well-known book, The Origin of Totalitarianism, where she says the defects of totalitarianism is explained by her in this way. She says that the totalitarian form of government has done two kinds of damages. One is the continuity of the Occidental history is lost. This is the first damage which the totalitarian society has done. So it has broken the continuity of the Occidental history. And secondly, totalitarian society or government form of government has rendered meaningless our moral and political categories. So what happens is that because of the modernity or because of the totalitarian government, our political categories were lost. Our moral values were lost. And also, she adds one more point in this context. She says that there is always a break of tradition in the sense that we are separated from our tradition, and this separation can never be repaired, or we can't go back to the old form of tradition, or we cannot accept the tradition because of Stalinism and Nazism. So these three aspects, of course, the third one is closely connected to the first one. So she said that what we have inherited from the past or from our tradition is now it is dissolved. So there is a need for going back to this. So we have to get back our values. So this is possible provided we transcend this totalitarian form of society. The tragic events of Holocaust has made human being a lifeless one. So it is very essential for us to revisit some of the concepts which modernity has given to us. And she says that in order to get back our values, in order to reach our values which have been eroded, in order to get back this, she applies the hermeneutic strategy, right? This, in order to re-establish the link with the past, she says a hermeneutic strategy is needed. What is it, hermeneutic strategy? That is, she says that the hermeneutic strategy, the notion hermeneutic strategy, could be easily understood by using two great contributions made by two great thinkers. One is the great contribution made by Walter Benjamin. All of us know that Walter Benjamin is a German Jewish philosopher who wrote extensively on German idealism, and also he is the one who talked about philosophy of history. So, in order to follow the hermeneutic strategy, or in order to understand the significance of hermeneutic strategy in order to get back our values or to re-establish the link with the past, she says Walter Benjamin's methodology is very much essential, especially his approach to philosophy of history. I'll explain that in a minute. Then the second important thinker whom she is referring to at this juncture is Heidegger. Now, with regard to Walter Benjamin, she says that he's the one who talked about the fragmentary historiography. This is very, very important. The fragmentary historiography. That is, one has to identify that there is always a rupture, there is a displacement, and there is always a dislocation in history. History is not a continuous one. Now, Hegel would say the history is something which is a continuous one. It is holistic, according to him. But many thinkers, many continental thinkers, for example, Foucault would say that it is not like that. Now, Walter Benjamin also talks about the fragmentary historiography, wherein he says history is not something which is very continuous, which is a continuous one. There is always a break in history. So that's why he uses the word fragmentary historiography. And there is always a displacement in history. There is a dislocation in history. All this must be taken into account in historiography. So what is the use of such a fragmentary history? Such fragmentary history according to Benjamin, helps one individual to recover the past. That is, we can understand the present with the use of the past. So the present can have actualization through the past. And secondly, Heidegger, with regard to Heidegger, she says that he is the one who taught us the deconstructive methodology in Western philosophy. Remember, these two thinkers, according to her, are very much essential because they have given the hermeneutic strategy in order to show the link or re-establish the past. So now, coming back to Heidegger, she says is the one who has given a deconstructive reading of the entire philosophical discourse of the West. So by deconstructing the Western philosophical discourse, we can understand how one can transcend the philosophical categories which are used by philosophers now. So we can get back to our lost meaning, which is very much essential. So by depending or by developing the two hermeneutic strategies, by using the method of Walter Benjamin as well as Heidegger, she could redeem from the past the lost or forgotten treasure. That is, those fragments from the past which are meaningful or significant even now. She is the one who simply does not reject the past, but she says that the past has a meaning even now. That's what she says. So it is very much essential from reading from the past. But at the same time, she gives a caution that the past has to be approached in a critical way. This means for her, the reappropriation of the past is very much essential. She says, don't accept the past as it is. So a critical evaluation of the past, that's the reason why she uses the word reappropriation of the past is very much essential. So she says, like Gadamer, I would say, that she says the past, present, and future are very much essential. The link between these three are already there. She says the future will give us an inspiration. By using the past, we can understand the present, we can see the relevance and meaning of the present, and it can give us a source of inspiration for the future. So in this way, she talks about the hermeneutical strategies which can help us to go back to our tradition, to preserve our tradition, and this by doing this we can critically evaluate the modernity. So while talking about further, she says that while talking about modernity, one has to take into account the two stages which are very much prevalent in modernity. Two stages of modernity. She talks about two stages of modernity or the development of modernity. The first one is from the 16th century to the 19th century. That is where there is a world alienation. Please note the term world alienation and the rise of the social. These are two important concepts. She says from the 16th century to 19th century, there is world alienation and there is also the rise of the social. Then the second stage of modernity it has started from the beginning of our century, where there is a earth alienation. So please note the term. The first stage, she talks about the world alienation. And in the 20th century, she talks about the earth alienation. What does she mean by this term? Now, when she talks about the term social, I said already that there is no distinction between society and social with regard to the contribution made by made by Hannah. And it is very clear that she makes a critical evaluation of the term social. So she says that the social or the society is restricted to the private sphere of the household. So this is the meaning which she gives for the term social or society. What is that? It is something which is restricted to the private sphere of the household. She says that society has invaded, not only invaded, but had conquered the public realm. Right? This is a very important statement which she has made. So the social has conquered the public realm. So she says, as a result of that, because of society or social, she says the boundary between the public and the private is lost. Right? The boundary between these two is lost or it is destroyed. So she says the social realm has always established a monopoly, and as a result of this, the distinction between labor, work, and action is also lost. So it is very much essential for us to understand the significance of the social, because social, according to her, operates only at the private level or the private sphere. So not only that, because of this social realm, there is a, a tension between the public as well as the private realm. And not only that, she says that in social, we are concerned about the material condition of existence. That is, how do we accumulate wealth, or how do we survive on this earth? So what are the necessary things in order to have a comfortable life? So she says the social realm is concerned about the material conditions, which are a dominating feature. So she says there is always productivity and consumption, which is a nucleus point, right? Which is a nucleus point in the social. So, which means the society is now reduced to laborers and job holders who no longer appreciates the values which are associated with the work. And not only work, but also with action. This means she would say that there is nothing wrong in celebrating the work or labor, but what happens is the values which are associated with work is now lost. We have been reduced to mere life production, or we are always concerned about consumption, and we become job holders or job seekers. So as a result of that, the values are lost. So we have to understand the fact that our concept of modernity has a close link with the social. And in order to know the significance, or in order to understand that our critique of modernity, we have to see the significance of the social. So the social, unfortunately, since is reduced to the private realm, we are more concerned about reproduction, for example, as our basic condition of existence. So we are concerned about our household work, and how to earn money, how to take care of our family, how to procure children. These are some of the areas which are connected to the social. So, what she has done in her critique of modernity is to make a separation from the private and public. And she says it is very much essential for us to make this distinction. What is that? That we have to make a distinction between private and public. We have to make a distinction between the social and political. And he says this distinction is very much essential in order to understand the significance of the public sphere. Because she says that this distinction between the private and the public sphere is very much important, because this distinction alone can understand, or can help us to understand the significance of citizenship. But one thing we have to point out, in fact, many critics of Anna, they have pointed out that by keeping this tension between the public and the private realm, and also between the social and the political, she has neglected, she has not taken into account the great contribution of modernity. Right? For example, the concept of justice is the outcome of modernity. And equal rights, the concept of equality, is something which we have derived from modernity. So it is, and moreover, all of us know that the distinction between private and public, there is no strict demarcation between these two, public and private. In fact, in postmodernist tradition, we come across many thinkers who say that the private become public and vice versa. So the main criticism is that she has not taken into account the significant contributions made by modernity. And another important contribution of Anna Arendt in the context of social and political is her theory of action. Her theory of action. She actually makes a distinction between action and fabrication. What is that? Action, all of us know, is nothing but praxis. But fabrication is poiesis. And she says that she is very much interested in developing the concept of politics, where there can be human togetherness. And action is a mode for this human togetherness, and it is based on the solidarity. So it is very much essential for us to talk about the solidarity and equality, which can emerge only in the political realm. This is very important because many of our thinkers, sometime back also we were discussing solidarity in Richard Rorty, in the same philosophy family group. We have discussed how Richard Rorty was more concerned about solidarity. Now, to some extent, I would say Anna Arendt also talks about the significance of solidarity and equality, which can emerge in the public realm. So, her concept of politics is based on the theory of action, because the theory of action is a mode of human togetherness. It can bring human being together. And also she, while talking about the theory of action, talks about the participatory democracy. This is a very, very important concept, which I think has a close link with many of the political theories which are prevalent now. The participatory democracy. What is my role in democracy? Whether I am playing my role as a participant. Whether I play any role, or do I have to keep myself out of this? somebody would make a decision for me and I have to be abide by that. This is a very important issue in contemporary political theory. And Anna Arendt long back has talked about the participatory democracy. And she says that her theory of action is based on freedom. And a very beautiful concept she develops at this juncture is natality. Natality, and if time permits, I would explain this. This is a very important concept, so definitely I will take some time to talk about that. So, yeah, while developing the theory of action, she talks about freedom, she talks about natality, and plurality and discourse. So this is very much essential. These four concepts are very much essential in the theory of action. In fact, she says these are the four principal components which are very much essential to talk about the theory of action. And while talking about the theory of action, here I would like to mention two great thinkers. One is, as I mentioned earlier, the Bhikkhu Parikh, who has very beautifully pointed out the significance. Uh, one minute. Somebody is giving a ring at my doors. Just I'll take 1 minute and come back. Please just. Uh, Bhikkhu Parikh argues that in her approach to politics, especially to her critique of modernity, we see two visions. One is an elitist approach to politics, and the other is the democratic approach to politics. And it is said by Bhikkhu Parikh that this kind of distinction or this kind of hierarchy which she has been talking about is not at all acceptable. Then Habermas is also who has dealt with this concept of Hannah, and he says that the methodology which she gives is acceptable to some extent, but the theory of action which she talks about incorporates two important models. One is the expressive model, the other is the communicative model. And Habermas would say that in all her criticisms or in all her critiques, that she has talked about the expressive model alone. That made Habermas to go for the communicative model or a communicative approach, which all of us know that in his well-known book, Theory of Communicative Action, how he celebrates that action, any communication involves action. So this methodology of I mean, the theory of action, which was propounded by Hannah, has some criticism, which has to be very seriously viewed by these two great thinkers. But anyhow, for want of time, I go to the another important concepts which she has explained to us. Remember, I said that one of our important components with regard to modernity is the judgment. Now, inner concept of modernity, there is a deep concern about the losses, because the loss of meaning, I told you in the beginning itself, she talks about the loss of meaning, and there is also the world elimination, earth elimination. All this I am yet to explain, of course, and the rise of the social and the victory of the animal laborons. So once again, I would like to repeat, because this is very important in order to understand our theory of judgment. One is uh, the loss of meaning, which is due to the world alienation. And also there is a earth alienation. And also there is a rise of the social, which operates in the private realm. I already discussed this with you. Then the victory of the animal laborons. This is very important. Now, all these aspects, that is, especially the rise of the social and the victory of the animal laborons, did not give us an opportunity to engage ourselves with the spontaneous action with others. So, to put it in simple term, that our relation with the social, or our approach, or the rise of the social, that is a correct term, which is I think has to be used, because she uses this term, the rise of the social. So the rise of the social simply rejects our action with others. In other words, we are not able to participate with others, or we are not involving ourselves with the spontaneous action with others, because of the so-called social realm. The social realm has become now private. So it will not give us a free public space for interaction and discourse. So there is no interaction between one individual and the other. There is no discourse that is taking place. So in this context, she talks about what is known as the enlarged mentality, which can be acquired only in public. Now, what is this enlarged mentality? This is a very important concept. While talking about the enlarged mentality, she says that there is always an argumentation and debate which would help us to develop our mentality. This is what she calls the enlarged mentality, which means the political opinions can never be formed in private. Please note that. Political opinions can never be formed in private. Rather, they are developing, or they are formed only in an enlarged community. So this means in an enlarged mentality, or in an enlarged community, which would allow us to develop this enlarged mentality, there is a place for argumentation, right? There is a place for argumentation and debate. So public debate and discussion is very much essential for us to develop the opinion. So here, the subjective validity is lost. That is, the subjectivity is lost, which means in a democratic debate, there is always the other person with whom you can have a dialogue and discussion. And in this debate, a citizenship can emerge and the public realm can emerge. So in this connection, she talks about another important concept, vita activa, vita activa and vita contemplativa. I'm sorry, I could not use the PowerPoint. Otherwise, the words you can understand it in a better way. Anyhow, I'll slowly repeat this: vita activa and vita contemplativa. Now, what is the distinction? She says vita activa means judging in order to act. That is, in short, vita activa means how do we act. Then vita activa means judging something in order to cull meaning from the past. This distinction is very much essential because she is the one who talks about the significance of vita activa. So a citizenship can emerge only in public space. So the political agency is needed. The collective identity is playing a very important role. So the political culture. So all these are very much essential in order to develop the public sphere. So in short, we can say already we have discussed what she meant by society or social. Now, what do we mean by the politics? It is very clear from the above discussion that she's the one who talks about the public sphere. Now, in short, one can say by politics, she means that how people or human society can share a common world, that is a common space for discussion. So the individual must be able to see and talk to each other in public. So there should be enough political space for discussion. So this is very much essential so that we can exhibit our commonalities. So in short, it means that there is a need for common public space in order to develop the politics. So a common public sphere helps us to understand how the public opinion can be formed. It can never be reducible to private, but it is a collective opinion where all of us can express our views independently, and this can never happen in private. Only by argumentation and debate this is possible. So there is no place for any private realm here. So public space gives us the equality as well as a solidarity. So keeping this at the backdrop, she makes a distinction between the world alienation and earth alienation. I said that I would discuss this in detail, the world alienation and earth alienation. Now let me explain what she means by world alienation. Now, quite often, that is in the social realm or the so-called social realm, because the society, the term society or social has got a wider meaning. But she says that the society or social, the so-called social realm is reduced to private affair or private realm. So she says that the social realm talks about, unfortunately, she says it talks about, the economic matter only. It talks about, it destroys the public sphere. It also dictates the economic necessity of human being. Because as I said in the beginning, that in the social, we are concerned about the productivity, how we can produce things, how we can acquire wealth, how we can help ourselves in order to have good life, etc. So she says that the economic matter plays a very dominant role. So in world alienation, what happens is there is loss of intersubjectivity. And the intersubjectivity, all of us know, is based on the experience as well as action. So this is lost. The intersubjectivity is lost in world alienation. And there is always, in this world alienation, the individual cannot have any discussion with other. So we cannot find identity with others. We cannot have an objective reality because we are in shell world. uh, we make a wall between one and the other. So the reality is lost, the objective reality is lost, the identity with others is lost. So we are like a refuge. We separate ourselves from the others and live in a separate world. So this is a very important contribution made by Hannah with regard to the world alienation. And further, she would say that the world alienation, the world is lost. We know the meaning of alienation. She says, because of modernity, we separate ourselves from that of the world. In world alienation, the world which is common to all is alienated from us. This means we are alienated from others. We are doubtful of our experience and of the reality of the world. So she says that there are two main reasons for this world alienation. One is expropriation. Expropriation means that the methodology which started with reformation, wherein it is stated that it is an action taken by the government, for example, or state, by taking away the property of the individual for the public interest. This is what we call expropriation, which started with the reformative period. And second is wealth accumulation. Human beings are more concerned about, as I said just now, we are concerned about how to accumulate wealth, how to develop our economic prosperity, material welfare, and all that one. So this means for Hannah, people are uprooted from their land because now they become laborers. They identify themselves with the nation state, which means they have to work all the time for the nation state. Then there is also, now we'll go to the earth alienation. First I said there are two stages of modernity. One is world alienation and the second is earth alienation. What do we mean by the earth alienation? Because of the exploration, this earth alienation, she says, has started because of the exploration of the whole earth, invention of aeroplane, for example, she says. And there is always the conquest of the space. So all these made human beings to understand that they are very small. The earth has now become a mere ball, and man tries to become master over nature. So human beings are separated from the earth because of the scientific and technological development. This is a very, very significant aspect which one has to take into account. So the world alienation, she says, is due to modernity, and earth alienation is to has taken place because of modern science. So one is the world alienation because of modernity, and second one, earth alienation, is due to the modern science. So in this way, she talks about how modernity has created division among human beings. Not only division among human beings, it separated the world. It also separated the world, I mean, earth from us. Then in this context, I already said that she talks about vita activa and vita contemplativa. Now, what do we mean by vita activa? I'll very briefly explain that. I want to see the time. Yeah, I have some time. Now, in vita activa, the values of the individual are preserved. Or in this vita activa, it is very much essential to understand the significance of human action. Whereas in the Vita Contemplativa, it is very clearly argued by her that the traditional way of doing philosophical discourse as searching in search of searching the principles of eternity of the world. All this has done a lot of problems to the world. So she says, in especially in her book, The Human Condition, she makes first of all the distinction between the private and public realm, and it says that the private is the space governed by necessity, whereas public is a space given by freedom. So in this way, she identifies the social with that of the activities, which has been playing a very important role, no doubt. But at the same time, she says that it has own limitation because it talks about the individual. It talks about the significance of the individual, of course, but it has its limited role to play. Then, with regard to the politics, while making the distinction between politics and social, she talks about how the refugees are being treated. In fact, one of our interesting essay is titled as "We Refugees." This is an article which she has published in 1943. She talks about, in this article, she talks about the non-political condition of the refugees. She says the refugees belong nowhere. They can do nothing but remember people who are no more with them and their loss, which is absolute in nature. So she talks about the pathetic situation of the refugees, and she talks about the depoliticization, which has played a very important role during dark times, and in which I would like to quote her here. She says, "We lost our home, we lost our occupation, and also our language. We left our relatives, and our best friends have been killed in concentration camps." So she talks about the stateless people. In fact, she herself claims that she's a stateless person. In the beginning, I said how she was, I mean, uh, tortured by the Nazism, and she says that the situation of the stateless people can be compared to that of ancient slaves who were oppressed and they were suppressed, and throughout all of us know that throughout the world, these refugees are being treated very badly, and she says that the German refugees are not exception to that. Of course, now we can also contextualize this in the Sri Lankan refugees and the other refugees who are suffering in various countries. So this is something which is a very significant point. Why I'm saying this is a very significant point is that she is the one who has a concern for the refugees. She has a concern. She has a concern for the downtrodden and the neglected people who become stateless. The stateless persons, though they contribute for the state or the country, they have been neglected. They are rejected by the rulers. So she says that it is very much essential for us to develop the concept of we. That is the need for the public realm alone can solve many of these problems. She says that the collective responsibility, right? The collective responsibility is very much essential in order to solve many of the problems which we are facing now. And in the beginning, please remember that I said she claims herself as a sort of phenomenologist, uh, not a full-fledged phenomenologist, but she says a sort of phenomenologist. Uh, and this is expressed in one of her statements. That is, you can from her statement we can understand that she comes very close to phenomenologists and the existentialist tradition. For example, in the year 1972, she makes this following statement. She says, "What is the subject of our thought?" This is a very, very, very precise statement, which would tell us very clearly that she's the one who is in support of phenomenology to some extent. Uh, it goes like this. What is the subject matter of our thought? Experience. Nothing else. But if we lose to ground, if we lose this, then we get into all kinds of abstract theories, which means if we reject the ground of experience, then she says all abstract theories would emerge. And this statement would clearly tell us that she's the one who has a concern for the living experience. Because phenomenology is a broader term which talks about the human existence, freedom, belonging, responsibility, birth and death, friendship, domination, etc. So it is very much essential, and moreover, it is clear from the influence which she has received from thinkers like Husserl, Heidegger, and Jaspers. It is very clear that there is a sort of phenomenologist and existentialist leaning, though she refused to call herself as a traditional philosopher. And so she says the main problem with totalitarianism, which has given a place for fascism, dictatorship, imperialism, mass genocide, world war, nuclear proliferation. All this can be solved provided we know that the public realm is something which can change. So the public realm was attacked by this totalitarian approach or totalitarian government. So the social and the political calamity of the 20th century can be transcended or can be overcome by this political realm, or by public sphere or public opinion. And I said that I would talk about natality, and with that I'll stop. One of the important concepts which I was very fascinated to read this concept of natality. So I thought when we are talking about the political thought of Anna, we have to talk about this natality. Now, in our political philosophy or political thought, let us use the word thought, the concept of being is important. The concept it is not being. She says it is being born in inverted commas. Of course, the concept of being plays an important role in phenomenology. All of us know that. But while explaining our political thought, she talks about being born in inverted commas. So the being born is nothing but the concept of natality. And in all her political writings, she has emphasized the significance of natality. Now, what is this being born or natality? So she talks about how life emerges at birth, because philosophers normally are concerned about death. Plato talked about death, and Heidegger also talks about death. And most of the time we talk about death as well as mortality. Now, Hannah gives another method of understanding the political thought. How? She talks about the life and natality. The life and natality is opposed to death and mortality, which has been playing a very important role in any philosophical discourse. So, natality, she says, suggests that individual action is important. So natality becomes a central theme in our writing. And as I said just now, the concept of being, especially in Heidegger, it plays a very important role, especially in Being and Time. I complete in 2 minutes. In Being and Time in the year 1929, which was published, the Being and Time, that was the year the Being and Time was published, wherein she talks about, Heidegger talks about being, but now she had, all of us know that she had a radical break from her teacher Heidegger, and her PhD dissertation was on Saint Augustine, which was published in the year 1929, where she develops this concept of natality. And she further develops this concept of natality in her book, The Human Condition. And also, I would say that her mentor and her PhD supervisor, Carl Jaspers, is one who is mainly responsible for revising our understanding of natality. And also, she was very much influenced by St. Augustine concept of natality. Now, to put it in simple terms, natality is a term which is used in order to talk about the birth which we have taken in the world. We have entered into the world through birth. It's a fact, all of us know that. So she says that there is so much philosophical analysis that has been going on in Western philosophy. What is that? We talk about abstract terms, we talk about eternal realities, but she says that love of this world is needed, that we have to show our love towards this world. So that's the reason why I said, though the concept of being is discussed from the beginning, from the Greek period onwards, we have been talking about in Heidegger, it's a beautiful discussion. And but now she changes that. Being born is used. That is, she says that birth is something very remarkable. Why do we talk about all the time some abstract terms or some eternal concepts which have no relevance at all? So the concept of love or birth and origin is something very important. So all of us know that philosophers are very much interested in the concept of death. And the best example is Heidegger and Plato, as I said just now. But now, Hannah rephrases the whole thing and by saying that we have to think about birth and origin. This is something very, very important, because the way she looks at birth or natality is something very important. And not only that, while talking about labor and work also, she says that the activities of both labor and work are closely connected to that. And natality is a central concept which is playing very important role in our political understanding. And here I would like to say her beautiful statement. She quotes, for example, she quotes the book of Isaiah, a Bible verse, which goes like this: "A child has been born unto us." Now, this phrase of book which is available in book of Isaiah in Bible is something, according to her, talks about natality. She's the one, Hannah talks about the virtue of birth by saying that how, by using the concept of natality, we can talk about how human beings are. human beings are something who has to be celebrated, which has to be said. The birth of a human being has to be celebrated. She, in this context, refers to Jesus of Nazareth, but she was not concerned about the divine qualities of Jesus, but the philosophical implication of his worldview. That's why she, by quoting the book of Isaiah, where it is said, "The child has been born unto us." This statement refers to natality, and she says that one can connect this statement, the child has been born unto us. We can go beyond the birth of Jesus Christ, and we can connect it to all. So the birth of the child is something new in life. So the birth of a child signifies a new hope. So to conclude, I would like to conclude because of time limit, because already Professor Kalidas ji and then Pramod ji are visible. So that is a sign, I know. So it is very clear that Anna is the one who has a concern for the public life or public sphere, and she's the one who talked about the significance of the Vita Activa, and one who has thoroughly criticized modernity, and the reasons are obvious. So we can say the one of the important political thinkers of this 20th century is Anna Arendt, and it is a vast literature. So just I have given like tidbits here and there. I have given some ideas about her, so that those who are interested can read more about her. And I'm grateful to Professor Dash as well as Maharana ji and Om Prakash ji for giving me this nice opportunity, and also my good friends who have attended this lecture. I'm grateful to you all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much, Professor Panneerselvam sir, for your thought-provoking talk on the relevance of political and social based on the political philosophy of Hannah Arendt, and you have very clearly analyzed all the concepts of the political thought of Professor Hannah, and you have very clearly stated that she does not want to belong to any so-called philosophers, and you have called her as a political thinker rather than a philosopher. Hannah has concern for human society. He has concern for human values. And if we study all the writings of Professor Hannah, then we can know that she has written on the political thoughts and horrors of 20th century, and here she has concern to develop the active citizenship, which is based on the value and civic engagement. Because of the paucity of time, I don't want to reflect upon all the things, and I don't want to make a summary of your entire talk. And it's time for discussion. Now I request my friend Professor Dr. K. Omnan Rao to carry on the interactive session. Over to Dr. Rao.
Namaskar, everybody. Well, I request Dr. Tandon, who is, I can see him on the screen. Namaskar, sir. Welcome, sir. Your observation, sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar, Paneer ji.
Namaskar,
I
Alok ji.
thank you. Yeah, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing such a exhaustive introduction. Still, I must say introduction to the political philosophy of Hannah Arendt. That is, the political philosophy is very much neglected field in Indian setup. So people think that it is something outside Indian or any philosophical syllabus. It should be done only by the political science people. But Hannah Arendt is such an important political thinker, and she is so relevant to our times that we cannot ignore her. Now, I come to your discourse. I am not going in details, but I have got very small queries, three queries. Number one is that can we apply Hannah Arendt's analysis of modernity and this criticism of Stalinism and Nazism to the emerging totalitarian states of nowadays? Because totalitarian states, whether in South Asia, Southeast Asia, or Middle East, they are depending more on the glorification of the past, to which Hannah Arendt's concern is somewhat different. Though she talks about the criticism of the past also, but she anticipated such type of totalitarianism, or we need some other extension of her analysis. One. Number two, how she analyzed the emergence of or the dominance of social over political in modernity. The mechanism of modernity which results into such type of divergence. That is, I think, something we all should like to know. And the third is very small point. Can we take Hannah Arendt as a postmodernist? Thank you.
Thank you, my dear good friend, Dr. Alokji. You always ask some interesting and thought-provoking questions. I'm grateful to you, and I thank you for your kind participation. Now, with regard to modernity, no doubt, the glorification which is present in South Asian countries is something which is no doubt is disturbing. But I would say that the totalitarian society or the political trend is changing now. It is changing now in the sense it cannot do such damage as it was doing during Stalinism and Nazism. But I still feel that there is always a sort of glorification which is doing a great damage to the democratic setup, which has to be controlled. But I don't know how to control this. I cannot suggest any means, or here how far Hannah Arendt would be applicable. That also I don't know. But maybe our methodology has certain limitation, no doubt. But at the same time, we can think of using some elements which could be used in order to transcend. I would like to use the word transcend the totalitarian setup. This is what I would like to say with regard to your first one. Secondly, the social over the political. Now, I actually, to tell you the truth, I was very much disturbed when she talked about the political as something more important than the social, and reducing the social or society into a private realm is something which I could not accept. But at the same time, she has got some other concern, because now the social, according to her, is something which limits the individual, and it does not allow the individual to perform his role along with others. So I think that political is more important, though this such a distinction is very much problematic according to me. So, but the social over the political will have some implication. But I still feel that, because I am one who always supports the political philosophy rather than, social philosophy rather than political philosophy. But we must, you know better than many of us, that the demarcation between the social and political is very thin, I would say. That many concepts, many who are considered as political philosophers they are social philosophers, and vice versa. Then is she a postmodernist? I don't know, but I would like to, because I'm fond of placing her in postmodern tradition, for the main reason that she has no, her critique with regard to modernity would make me to believe that she is a postmodernist, but I don't know. I mean, this is my personal view, that she can be considered as a postmodernist. But I mean, all of us know that she is beyond all these labels. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how to answer this.
Thank you very much, Panneerselvam. But
See,
the thing is, my question was a little different. How
okay.
modernity creates such distinction between what she said, social and political, and social becomes more important.
Yeah.
Right? That is the thing that we can observe even in our societies also.
Yeah.
That is important. So, how the mechanism of modernity creating such divergence, such distinction?
Modernity. Of course, as Habermas said, it is a incomplete project. So, and she is also talking about that using the categories of Habermas, and says it is a incomplete one. All that, we know the limitation of modernity. So she says that one has to criticize, or one has to make a critical evaluation of this modernity. So this perhaps has helped her to go towards the political realm, where, because the social, she says, is something which is very private, and where the human beings become, they are more concerned about protection, and they're concerned about labor and all that one. So this approach, I think, has some advantages over the other methodologies, other criticisms of which we find in, other thinkers, where modernity is criticized. This distinction, I would say, is very helpful in order to show that the political realm is more, because the political realm, he says, is which gives a space for citizenship, participatory democracy, which he says will not be available in the context of social. Still, I have my own reservation with regard to this distinction which she has made, and why she should prefer political over the social. I have my reservations. I cannot accept it.
Okay.
Jayanti
Thank
madam,
you. Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Well, Jayanti madam wants to say something. Well, madam, namaskar. Well,
Good evening, sir. Sir, namaskar. Good evening, sir. It was really a thought-provoking lecture. It was an excellent lecture, and my knowledge of Arendt is very limited, but it was quite interesting. I see had two angles, like if I can say that freedom and plurality, two concept I got from your lecture, like which I liked. If I took freedom, then I can put her as an existentialist. The element cannot be rejected, because she herself said that one should be free to do certain things from the birth. Okay, so that is there. So one element of existentialism cannot be denied in her political sphere. And then second, when she speaks about plurality, and she speaks about participatory democracy, and also she speaks about the how to retain the traditional values, and the contemplative ideas also, and deserve some values which we have in the society. So that is also a postmodern approach, can't be denied. That is my view. perception, but again there is a problem with her, is that not accepting anything, but that is okay, that she is very skeptical about modernism, and trying to retain a kind of approach, which again, taking all good things maybe into account, from all ideologies, or maybe rejecting all ideology, trying to develop a new ideology which is not very clear in our explanation. But again, I found that he is again coming back to his ideology again. Sometimes he becomes Hegelian in her approach, when she speaks about taking others into account, and she's Hegelian in her approach. And sometimes is that when she speaks that your own identity is important, because to establish certain things, that authoritarianism is there in her voice. So that is again coming back to a subjectivism. And she also spoke about some good people, that who is that some good people, there is an intersubjective element, is also she is bringing out. So I do not exactly see not necessarily we need some kind of approach always, or ideological based to define certain things. But if we go by so many kinds of ruptures, how will establish a kind of set of political system, that I'm not clear. So that is my observation. And thank you so much,
Okay.
sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Jayanti, for your wonderful observation. Yeah, she can be considered as an existentialist, because she's the one who spoke in terms of lived experience. So she comes very close to the phenomenologist and the existentialist tradition. There is no problem with regard to that. But since she has not openly declared herself as this or that, we can get some ideas from her writings, and ultimately, what philosophers are talking about is their lived experience. So there is nothing. Everybody is a phenomenologist, I would say, or existentialist. So there is, and she. I mean, this is something. You can't develop a full-fledged philosophical. I mean, sorry, political theory from her approach. This is what I observed. I don't know whether my observation is right or wrong, because in all her writings, it is very clear that she is the one who has been suppressed by Nazism, and the impact of it was on her life, throughout her life. And she's the one who supported the refugees, and also that's why, as I said in the beginning itself, in her interview, quoting her interview, that she does not belong to any, and there is no systematic development of a political thought. She has said something. One principle which one can draw is the participatory democracy, for example. Then there is what is called this solidarity. These are some of the concepts which are very much essential for us to develop our political thought. But it is very difficult to develop it further. For the main reason that we have to see how far these concepts are very relevant. Because, for example, she talks about tradition, but at the same time, she says that there is a need for reappropriation of tradition. So there are some areas where we need more explanation or more elaboration. And I feel that some of our concepts can be applied in the broader framework, especially in political theory. We can apply that, but our views are not something very, not something new, I would say. For example, there are other thinkers who also talked about human solidarity and the action which he talks about. is very much present in the communicative action of Habermas and all that one. So this does not underestimate our great contribution, but at the same time, you have to. It is very difficult to locate her in any system or any thought. But I would say that we can draw some ideas from her, and we can see how this could be applicable. Especially, for example, what she said about the refugees. It is very, very painful to read how the refugees have been tortured and how they were suffering. All these are very beautifully exhibited by her. So these are some of the areas which one can apply or one can make use of in the context of broader framework, the political framework. This is what I would like to say. But I still
Thank
feel
you so
that
much.
it is very difficult to draw a full-fledged political discourse from our writings. This is what I have understood when I read her a number of times, of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very true. Actually, the way she has narrated the things, but one thing cannot be denied. This one. Yes, sir. Yes.
We have with us, thank you, Pramod sir. Well, we have with us Anurama madam. She wants to say something. Yes, welcome, ma'am. Anurama.
Yeah, 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 very brief. I'll put it very brief, sir. Definitely. Good evening, sir, and thanks a lot for actually, I'm personally so obliged because I got a very good exposure of this fantastic philosopher. There's no hesitation in calling her a philosopher. Definitely, even if she hesitates, but we don't hesitate, definitely not. There cannot be a better philosophy. Okay, but I'll put my question directly. What actually I had a problem in understanding when you were exposing her that she wants to understand the modernity from history. From the you were talking of the philosophy of history, and you said that she understands history as fragmented. So fragmented history.
History, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So and she wants to connect modernity with the fragmented history. So here I have a problem that how can you connect situations with a fragmented past? Okay, so this is my first question. And secondly, when you are trying to understand the social or the political in terms of modernity, you have definitely mentioned the economy. This particular aspect, the economic aspect, I should consider that this, I mean, I'm talking in terms of the Marxist, definitely. Like, can you avoid social or political from the economy, and which forms the basis? I mean, does she consider this economic aspect as the base to understand political or the social? Or, I mean, this is my next question. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Anurima ji, for your, first of all, your presence and also your participation. Thank you. Two questions, very important questions. One is with regard to the fragmented history. Now, the fragmented history, of course, she takes help from, I remember, I was telling you that two hermeneutic strategies which she is applying with regard to her critique of modernity. The first one is the fragmented history, which is given by Walter Benjamin. And the second one is the deconstructive of Western philosophy by Heidegger. Now, with regard to fragmented history, this is a very important issue. We are talking about historiography, no doubt, but we must understand. I mean, this is a postmodern understanding. It has been pointed out by Foucault and many others that history is not a continuous one. There is always a break in the history. But we are not taking into account that one. For example, Hegel believed that it is a continuous one. But there is, as I said, Walter Benjamin very clearly says there is always a rupture. There is also a dislocation in history which we try to forget, and we try to present as though history is one continuous and there is unbreakable one. It is not so. And I am quite convinced with this fragmented history, because this fragmented historiography or history can help us to understand that there are many types of history. There are many ways of writing history. So it is not the case that we have to picture history from only one side. For example, I would like to give example from Professor Barlinge. I think sometime back I gave a talk on Professor Barlinge here in this forum. Professor Barlinge talks about historiography. And he says the historiography is something which is directly connected to persons and how we have to see history as a discontinuous one. So it is a fact. If we want to present history in a proper perspective, we have to accept the fact there are many ways of writing history. Many, in fact, Professor Barlinge says, if Hitler had won in the Second World War, then historians would have celebrated him and they would have given a different type of history. So, which means there are many types of history that is possible. And this type of history, when you are allowing different types of history, then it is also possible to have a fragmented history, or where we can have different distinctions which we can make with regard to history. Then with regard to, this is something I told you that I myself was a little disturbed, because I am a social philosopher. I'm the one who talks about the significance of the social rather than the political. And of course, if you use the Marxian paradigm, then this will not stand. This distinction which she talks about, her preference of political over the social, is not at all acceptable. But we have to see in the context in which she has talked about the social. She believes that social has given a different dimensions. What is that? It is reduced. I would say it is reduced to private realm. That is the reason. And moreover, it talks about mere production of things, mere labor, how we can talk about the material prosperity and all that one. So this is one problem which we have to take into account, and that angle is something which has not been approached by philosophers or political thinkers. So I feel that this methodology is okay, but even then, I would say that society is more important than, the political or the politics. This is how I view. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but this is my position.
Thank you.
So are you identifying the economic with the social?
Pardon?
Are you identifying the economic with the social? Actually,
economic with what?
With the social. Because my question was pointed towards what forms the base. Whether economic forms the base or not. Because whatever you consider as predominant, whether the political or social, basically what I understand is the economic forms the basis of either the political or the social, whichever is predominant. So do you support that? I was concerned with the economic part, not the...
No, economic, she has not said that economic is something which is identical to social. What she says is that in social, the economic becomes a predominant one. But there are other things also. So one of the aspects of social or modernity is that it talks about the economic prosperity or the growth of wealth, etc. But there are also other things. What is that? As a result of that, I give up my autonomy. I don't feel like participating with others. I don't understand the significance of the other. All these are part and parcel of the social. The economic, this thing is a part of the social, according to her. It's not that it is identical to social. It is one aspect which is playing a very important role in the social, which we have to take into account. There are other aspects also, as I said.
Okay, we can discuss later on, but I had a different question. Okay, I will discuss later on.
Yes, Thank you, Professor Panneerselvam, sir. Well, Ranjit Ghosh, sir, is there. Well, he has joined with another mobile. Sir, you have something to say, sir? Professor Ghosh. Well, he's traveling, I think. Professor Ghosh is traveling.
Hello, Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Okay, Doctor. Okay.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Audible.
Yeah. I have come out for some work. Anyway, it was a very illuminating speech. As usual, Professor Panneerselvam has given a detailed picture of Hannah Arendt's philosophy. I have just one question to ask, that when she is talking of alienation, and can we say that she is referring to social alienation or political alienation, or both? Because you see, if social alienation is there, then it will lead to anomie and normlessness, as we find. And if it is political alienation, then it will lead to disobedience, and that is again the this is important so far as you have raised the issue of participatory democracy, which is really it is an utopian goal considering the present context, because you see, participatory democracy is possible only like small cantons of Switzerland and only small countries, but it is not possible for a country like India. So the first thing that regarding the alienation, whether it is what alienation she is actually emphasizing, this is important, and because she is referring towards the human condition. So human condition during the present time is both social and political. So how do you react to this? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ranjit Ji, for your excellent question. Now, the world, let me explain it once again, very briefly, of course. When she talks about the world alienation and earth alienation, it is very clear that she talks about how from the 16th century to 19th century, we have this reformative period, and where the individual is separated from his own ownership of something. So this is one alienation, world alienation, to put it very shortly. Then in earth alienation, the earth has become very small. As I said, it has become a mere ball, wherein the science and technology has been playing a very important role. For example, the conquest of airspace and aeroplane, all this. So this alienation which she talks about, though is restricted to social, this can be extended to political alienation. This would lead to political alienation. That is the reason why she has a concern for that. So it is very, and moreover, she says that this political approach, or the distinction between the social and the political, would clearly show that in social there is always a limitation. There is always a lack of autonomy. There is always a lack of freedom. So all this is possible only in the social. But with regard to politics, all these are transcended. So which means there is autonomy, there is freedom, there is solidarity. So in this political approach, the question of alienation, of course, if you extend it to a broader this thing, for example, the political alienation is the ruler and the ruled, where when you talk about the refugees, for example, that is political alienation. So what she is trying to say is that from social we move towards the political. This is one drawback. And secondly, with regard to your question, the participatory democracy, it is something which is very much possible in larger context also. For example, we expect or we want all major countries also to follow this participatory democracy, wherein each and every individual can participate in the way of public opinion. So all of us should be in a position to express our views, which can play a dominant role in the public sphere, and as a result of that, we can change the society. But how it is possible, I don't know. Whether it is possible at all or whether it is an utopian idea, we don't know. But this is what she was trying to say. So thank you very much for your wonderful question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Well, one thing that comes to my mind, while moving, say when Hannah talks about the participatory democracy, which Rajit Ghosh sir said, it is applicable to city states where the population is minimum, when we can have a direct participation. And well, as you suggested, that even it is possible in case of say representative democracy. So my question is whether what sort of idea did what sort of setup that Hannah carried when she said when she moved towards participatory democracy? Was she concerned about taking big democracies, or where we can have a representative opinion in order to shaping out public policies? So whether she was concerned with small city states, or she had in mind a sort of representative model in her idea of participatory democracy. So that is again a thing that has to be seen. Okay, thank you. Well, we have with us Badrinath sir. Wants to say something?
Nothing, sir. I mean, just an observation that my apologies for joining the lecture late, sir. The Earth alienation is still, the concept of Earth alienation is very much relevant today, which I see, sir, because technology is dividing human beings, and now human interaction is becoming very less, and we are more becoming gadget friendly, and even in the houses there is only no contact, human relation, personal contact is getting divided due to scientific advance and technologies, which as sir told, I just share my same view with sir. Just I wanted to make this comment, that's all, sir, nothing more than that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatt. Thank you, Doctor. So one thing, it comes to my mind. Well, Professor Panneerselvam sir was speaking about the world alienation, where there is a shift from the public to the private. Now he again talked of act alienation, wherein he said it is due to the rise of modern science. Well, Badrinath sir pointed out, due to the advent of science, due to the scientific technology, even at the private level, human beings are divided. So that is another concern. That is another problem. It is the problem. Okay. Now, anybody? We don't see anybody coming out for any observation. Well, may I request?
Shall I add one more question?
Sir,
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
You are talking about active and contemplative values, and Anna is referring to active values because she is supporting the political action. So, as far as I remember, Doyaji wrote an article, Active and Contemplative Values, and he also wrote an article, Alienation, Positive and Negative. So now I am getting some clues that when Hannah and you are discussing, some shadow of your views, I mean Hannah's views, is being reflected in Dayaji's view. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, one more thing. In being critical to the totalitarian politics, Hannah has supported, has come up with the participatory democracy. But in participatory democracy, one problem that arises is there is, I think, the politics and the power. Actually, the concept of power that we see in politics, that is lost. So, in that context, would it be possible to keep the people together that you are talking about? because in a participatory democracy, when there is no, I think, a sort of authority, okay, whether it would be possible to keep the people together in solidarity. Is there a problem there? Because it's total, because I see, you see, participatory democracy is possible. At the same time, okay, a certain setup, a certain mechanism has to be there in order that the people are held together in solidarity.
Dr. Rao, in this connection, I would refer to Bernard Shaw's view on democracy. He said that democracy is a mobocracy with a million of nobodies. so that becomes relevant here in this context. If, when we are talking about participatory democracy, then maybe it will reduce into a million of nobodies. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me explain my position with regard to Professor Narayan Rao's question. Now, yeah, I quite agree with Badrinath. Now, technology made us another group, or there is always alienation, which is mainly responsible for division among people. Perhaps we can call this as a technological alienation. I quite agree with him. Now, with regard to what Narayan Rao ji has said, the participatory democracy, when I read Anna, when I, especially this, her discussion on participatory democracy, I thought that this could be extended to Indian context. For example, in Indian context, when we are talking about the representative government also, of course, there is always a possibility for developing this participatory democracy. This means in participatory democracy, as I explained, it is very much essential for us to have unanimous views. And as Sarah said just now, it's very difficult, no doubt. But here, when we talk about solidarity, what we mean is that majority, of course, this is not what she has said, or Richard Rorty, who is also talking about solidarity. They have not specifically said that, but what I understood is, by solidarity, the majority of the views, most of the persons who talk about a particular concept, or if it is agreeable to most of them, then we can say that there is the unanimous attempt to understand a particular concept. This is how I think, because 100% this thing, solidarity, or 100% public opinion on particular matter is an impossibility according to me. So this way of understanding would help us to go further, in the sense that solidarity here means that majority, most of the views, not majority also is not a correct word, that most of us come to an, that's why she wants us to have a public dialogue, public opinion, public sphere. Let us discuss that, come to an open forum and discuss. So this would help us to solve the problem. But when I was reading this participatory democracy, I felt that this comes very close to Dr. Ambedkar's concept of democracy. Because remember the words of Dr. Ambedkar, he said democracy is meaningful if all of us participate in that democracy. Right? This is very, very, it is not for few. It is for each and every individual. It is for those who are neglected, who are oppressed, and who are suppressed. So this participatory understanding, or this participatory citizenship or democracy is meaningful if everybody participates in it. When I read Anna, I felt that she comes very close to Ambedkar. This is what I would like to say. That so this could be applicable. The participatory democracy could be applicable in a larger context also. Yeah, because a country like India also can practice this participatory democracy. Of course, we are doing that, no doubt, but I still feel that this should be extended further in the sense that each and every individual should participate in a democracy. And this is possible, I think, because we give freedom to all individuals in Indian context. So this concept is very much close to our Indian context. Now, with regard to my good friend Ranjitji's Ghosh, very beautifully he has pointed out, Dayaji has discussed this issue. I feel that this Vita Activa is something which Anna has been trying to explain throughout her life. For example, when she talks about labor, when she talks about work, and when she talks about action, all these three are the elements which constitute the Vita Activa. So, which means that it is no doubt it is a radical challenge to tradition of the political thought. And whereas in the contemplative or theoretical level, there is always Anna herself points out that this is very much applicable in ancient time of the Greeks as well as the critical thought. So this tradition actually disengages from the world and talks something which is not directly connected to human beings. So that is the reason why she appreciates Via Activa, which recovers, I would say, an alternative tradition that values action and worldliness. So this Vita Activa is something which is very much essential to understand the social significance of the action, the theory of action, which she talks about.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very nice response and being there. Well, let us move to our admin, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, sir. He has his own observations. Well, Professor Das. Pramod Kumar Das, sir. Yes.
Really, I enjoyed this discussion. The talk was wonderful, sir. Grateful to you. Professor Panneerselvam ji spoke about Professor Anna. One philosopher is speaking about another philosopher, and when a philosopher speaks something, he or she speaks about a model of thinking. That's only, and it is an open choice to accept it or not to accept it, to appreciate it or not to appreciate it, um, to take it as a model or not. We are free to criticize. It is free for open discussion. So this is a model of a philosopher. And Professor Panneerselvam is just advocating or defending the stand of the philosopher. So many questions were discussed, many observations we listened, we had from this discussion. So I shall speak only that what I understood out of the discussion and from the deliberation of Professor Panneerselvam ji. Panneerselvam ji is speaking about Professor Anaji regarding two possibilities of an individual. Individual means man, and man is individual. Man is not society. Man as an individual has two possibilities. One is intellectuality and the other is emotion. Emotion is dealt with values, norms, society. This is emotional part. Intellectual part is politics. What is right, what is wrong, what is justice, what is injustice, what is should be our government. This is a rational thinking, rational approach rational ability of man, and that man is an individual. Because both rationality and emotion spring from an individual, and he made a distinction between philosophy and a political philosophy. A political philosopher is not a philosopher. He is a thinker, and there is a difference between a thinker and a philosopher. Because a philosopher may be biased by a thinking, one perspective, but a thinker is always free, and he or she is freely giving a model to the society. Now the point is, Professor Anna is claiming that politically we should be public, not to be private, not to be selfish. This should be our personality of an individual in modern society. That we should not follow history chronologically. Every moment is a fragment. It is a change. Every moment is a new possibility. So the past, present, and future, it is not teleologically related. Every moment is a moment of accident and creation. So we should be present. We should be present. We should be free from the gravitational pull of the past. Rather, our direction should be to the future. How can we build a new future? This is the individual. And what should be his personality? Politically, he should be public. And socially, he or she should be an individual, very good man, having sense of values. This should be the social behavior of an individual. But politically, he should be rational. He should talk about rationality, justice. These two possibilities make a man good person or a man of a personality. This is the model of a personality. So, Anurima Madam asked about economics. That is a part of social, not only economics, our biological behavior, our biological problems, all problems that come under social aspects. But how you deal with it, whether you are taking it in the sense of lokasangraha for the welfare of all, then it is rational, it is intellectual, it is good, and it is political. This is the right political behavior. Politics does not mean that power will be in the hand of a political person. That is not politics. Politics means the lokasangraha. That is called Rajaniti. This is the royal discipline. This is not an ordinary discipline. And in that royal discipline, there is a harmony. There is welfare for the society. That should be the political behavior of a good individual. But in addition to that, if he has no sense of value, if he has no emotional feelings, if he has no bhakti, if he has no love and affection, then he is not a complete personality. That is social part. Socially, he should be a good individual, and politically, he should be a good statesman. This is the difference. Politically, he should be global, but socially, he should be very local, very internal, very personal. How can I become a good person so that I shall create a good society? That is Professor Hanna's claim, and this is a modern claim. This is a modern claim. Modernity means to think new, being free from the pull of the past, and being too much excited of the speculative future. Be present. Focus your rationality on the present. Don't be lost in the philosophy of a history or a history of a philosophy. No. Be a complete personality having momentous present consciousness. that man is the man of equanimity. That man is Sthita Prajna. That means politically he is sound, politically he is global, cosmic, and socially he is a very good individual. This is my understanding. So all problems can be divided into social and intellectual. So whenever we are going to manage, whenever we are going to live our life, we have to apply these two mechanism. Intellectual mechanism is different from emotional mechanism. Social life is different from our political life. Political life is better because it guides social life. It monitors social life. It gives light to, it shows the torch to our social life. Therefore, political life is better than social life. Without a political life, our social life is a blind pursuit only, like animals. Thank you. This is my observation and very personal view.
Thank you, Professor Dasji, for your wonderful observation. Really, I liked it. Especially when you are making the distinction between the social and the political. You very rightly said that the politically human being should be public, whereas socially he should be private. This is something very, very fascinating. And I think if this be the criterion, then the rift between the political as well as the social can easily be transcended. This is a very, very significant point. I liked it very much.
This is the
Thank you so
future.
much.
This is the future we should aspire.
Future, yeah. That's very nice, very nice. I'm very grateful to you for this beautiful observation.
Thank you, Professor Das, for your very nice observation, and also thank Professor Panneerselvam sir for his responses. Well, it is already 9 o'clock. Let us move to Dr. Kailas Mahana sir for the final program, for proposing the vote of thanks. So thankful to all for a beautiful session. Over to Dr. Maharan. Yes, sir.
This is a wonderful session.
Very beautiful session.
It is not necessary. It is not necessary, sir. Sir, it is not necessary that we should get some time to speak. No, it is very necessary only to listen to the speaker. And I shall request one thing to all the participants: ask very pinpointed question because the speaker can understand. Because who is speaking about, he or she has his or her own research. So they can understand your very pinpointed question. So we shall listen more. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry, there was some disturbance during my talk because I had to go out and bell was ringing now also because nobody is at home. So when somebody
Rao,
I had to go and see.
Dr. Rao.
Yes, sir.
I shall speak only one sentence about Professor Panneerselvam ji. Whenever he talks, he starts from the introduction of the speaker, introduction of the philosopher, very casually, very normally, but slowly he enters into the depth of the discussion. And after all discussions, he is so humble, he comes to his own normal position. This is the great personality. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All this I learned from my teachers, great teachers. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
That's all.
Thank
So
you.
I can't take any credit for that. Whatever I learned, I am just discussing that with you. That's all.
Thank you so much, sir, for your simplicity. For club, we learned a lot from you. Okay, we have never studied. I say personally, I have never studied Hannah, but from your lecture, at least I can say I can speak. At least I can give a lecture. At least that confidence I have.
Great.
But I have never studied Hannah. I don't know who is Hannah. Just before your lecture, I even did not search for her because I was sure that I'll be learning from you. So whatever I got, at least I can say I can deliver one lecture.
Dr. Rao.
This confidence I have. Thank you so much, sir, for this lecture and making me know about Hannah. Thank you so much, sir.
Dr.
Yes,
Rao.
Professor.
I am grateful to all three of you, the three Murtis, I used to say, because this gave me a chance to refresh my memory. Long back, I taught Anna Arendt for my MA class. So this gave me an opportunity to once again glance what I taught, and so this helps me a lot. And moreover, only by discussing something, we learn a lot. So in this way, I should say that the discussion is also very helpful to me, because in philosophy, I feel no word or sentence is final. We can always refresh our memories. We can rethink, remodify, or reject also. So all this is possible provided you have an open mind. I have an open mind. I am ready to listen to others, and I'm ready to change my views if it is not acceptable, or if it is not first of all, if it is not acceptable to me. So what I speak is, I'm convinced. I'm putting it before you. That's all. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you so
Rao,
much.
Dr.
Yes,
Rao,
sir. Yes, sir.
one thing comes to my mind that I shall give a talk. My topic will be Professor Anna from the perspective of Indian philosophy.
Yeah.
I think that can be connected in many respects. I shall give a talk on Professor Anna from the perspective of Indian philosophy.
That would be nice, sir. That would be nice. Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everybody.
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, let us move to Dr. Maharana.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Rao. We all have enjoyed today's session, and we know that being an eminent philosopher and academician, Professor Panneerselvam sir always tries to explore the philosophical reflection of such thinkers, which many of us do not know. And you know, previously, Professor Panneerselvam um, um, reflected upon the philosophical reflection of Professor Barlinge, which we all have been benefited. And I extend my gratitude to him for his endeavor to bring such connectivity of the unknown persons which we do not know, which us, and it has benefited our philosophical wisdom. And today, we have been very much benefited by the observation of Dr. Alok Tandon sir, Dr. Joyant madam, Professor Anurima madam, Dr. T.K. Padrinath, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, Professor Dr. K. Umnan Rao. Today, all the viewers, all the participants, they have shared a new way of thinking of the problems lies in the political thought of Hannah. All the observations have benefited all of us. And today, Professor Panneerselvam has added his intelligent and logical responses to all the observations shared by our learned professors. So I extend my gratitude to Professor Panneerselvam sir for having such a beautiful topic before us, and to reflect the philosophical wisdom of Professor Hannah before us. And by this, he has benefited us, and we are much grateful to Professor Panneerselvam sir. Today, I don't want to speak much about our admin Professor Pramod Kumar Das and Professor Dr. K. Umnan Rao. They have reflected their observation, and Professor Pramod Kumar Das has agreed to give a talk on the that's on the philosophy of Professor Hannah from Indian perspective. It will be a very beautiful topic, and Professor Panneerselvam sir will help Dr. Professor Pramod Kumar Das in writing such a beautiful topic. And with this, once again, I extend my gratitude to all the senior professors, Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, Professor Alok Tandon sir, Dr. Joyanti madam, Professor Anurima Dr. T.K. Baganga, and to all the peers that they have present, and they have shared their experiences, they have shared their intellectual endeavors before us, and we all have been benefited. Thanks so much to all the peers to listen and to witness this beautiful academic session. Thanks to all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, thanking Professor Panneerselvam, sir. Okay, I request him to deliver a talk on Habermas, whom he has directly interacted. So it would be a great
Great.
learning for all of us. So it would be very nice, sir, if you deliver a lecture on Habermas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do that. Definitely. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Namaskaram, sir. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram. Vanakkam. Vanakkam. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Professor,
Thank you.
sir, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have one request for you, sir.
Sir.
Sir, you please write one article on this topic, sir.
Yes,
And
sir.
kindly send to me.
Yeah.
I shall review that from the perspective of Indian philosophy.
Yeah. Definitely, sir.
So I shall acknowledge your contribution, your understanding about Professor Hannas.
Yes,
So
sir.
I shall refer to you.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I shall study only your script, your interpretation about Professor Hanna, and I shall write, I shall speak, I shall develop,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll
develop
do
my
that,
topic.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So
Thank you very much.
with this wonderful session is declared closed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.